original dancehall, original lovers of roots and culture, all kind of style. Yeah, all started out in 1979.
The spotlight fades, the music stops, and the crowd that once screamed your name is nowhere to be found. That's the harsh reality some reggae stars faced after their time at the top. In this video, we're discussing 15 reggae legends who went from fame and fortune to lonely exits that left their fans heartbroken. So, grab a seat, because we're going to look back at the lives of 15 reggae stars who died alone after falling from fame, and how their legacies still echo in the music today. I-Roy. In his prime, I-Roy's fast-talking style made him a fixture of the reggae scene. But when the music shifted toward dancehall in the 1980s, his trademark sound suddenly felt out of step. Audiences moved on, and so did the industry. As the spotlight dimmed, I-Roy's health began to fail. He was diagnosed with a serious heart condition, but brushed it off when he returned to Jamaica. The neglect only made things worse. With little money coming in and his music losing traction, he fell into poverty. By the late 1990s, he wasn't just struggling financially, he was homeless, sleeping on the streets of Spanish Town. His attempt to build a studio that might revive his career collapsed when the funds dried up, leaving another dream unfinished. Tragedy kept piling on. In October '99, just weeks before his own death, one of his sons was killed in prison. British fans, horrified at news of I-Roy's condition, launched a fundraiser to bring him to the UK for heart surgery. The effort showed that some hadn't forgotten him, but fate had other plans. 2 weeks after the campaign began, I-Roy died in a Spanish Town hospital from heart failure at only 55 years old. His story is a sobering reminder of how quickly fame can fade and how unforgiving the music industry can be. Once a pioneer who gave reggae its voice of wit and rhythm, I-Roy's final chapter was marked by loss and loneliness. Smiley Culture. Smiley Culture rose from London's reggae scene in the 1980s. He was more than just a singer. He was a cultural force who bridged the gap between reggae, dancehall, and mainstream British pop. His sharp wit and conversational lyrical style made him stand out, and his hit singles like Cockney Translation and Police Officer gave him a reputation as a storyteller who could both entertain and critique society with a smile on his face. But behind that smile, the road ahead wasn't as smooth. As the reggae wave in the UK began to fade from the charts, Smiley's momentum slowed, and he found himself outside the spotlight. Though he dabbled in television and tried to reinvent himself, his career never fully regained the glory it once had. By the 2000s, his name was mostly remembered by reggae loyalists rather than the wider public, who had once sung along to his cheeky lyrics. In 2011, tragedy struck in a way that shocked not just reggae fans, but the entire UK. Smiley Culture died during a police raid at his home, with authorities ruling it as a self-inflicted stabbing. The circumstances were controversial, sparking protests, public outrage, and debates about racism and police brutality in Britain. To this day, many question the official story, believing something more sinister may have happened. What makes Smiley's death even more heartbreaking is how far it stood from the promise of his early career. He had once been hailed as a symbol of cultural unity, a voice that brought Caribbean sound into British living rooms with charm and humor. Yet, his life ended in solitude and controversy, leaving behind a legacy as complex as his lyrics. Evson Matafale. Some voices shake stadiums, others shake governments. For Evson Matafale, the man Malawians called the Prophet, his music carried so much weight that it rattled those in power, and his story ended in a way that still leaves people uneasy. Matafale was more than a singer. As the founder of the legendary Black Missionaries Band, he gave Malawi reggae an identity of its own. His debut album, Kuimba 1, exploded in '99, turning him into a household name. By 2000, his songs weren't just entertainment, they were statements, echoing the frustrations and dreams of ordinary Malawians. Among Rastafarians, he wasn't just respected, he was revered as a spiritual elder. But the very fearlessness that made him admired also brought him trouble. Matafale didn't shy away from criticizing the Muluzi government, writing letters that called out corruption and inequality. That boldness caught the wrong kind of attention. On November 24, 2001, he was arrested. Police told his family it was a routine matter, that he'd be back home in hours. Instead, he was transferred overnight to Lilongwe. By the next day, he was gone, dead at just 32. The official story blamed pneumonia. The autopsy report claimed no signs of abuse, only natural illness made worse by malaria. Yet for many, the explanation never felt complete. Was it neglect? Was it something darker? The questions haven't faded, even decades later. When news of his death spread, the nation erupted in grief. More than 10,000 people flooded into Chilaka for his funeral. Rastafarians turned the farewell into a massive celebration of life, dreadlocks swaying to the same rhythms Matafale had once led. In a haunting twist, he had predicted his own fate, saying he didn't fear death, only the force that could harm both body and spirit. Garnet Silk. Garnet Silk's voice didn't just entertain, it uplifted. Smooth yet powerful, tender yet commanding, his sound carved deep into the heart of reggae, making him one of Jamaica's brightest stars. But just as his rise promised to reshape the genre, tragedy struck in a way that was as heartbreaking as it was heroic. Silk began his journey as a DJ under the name Little Bimbo, working his way through sound systems in the 1980s. Along the path, he crossed with Tony Rebel and dub poet Yasu Safari, who encouraged him to embrace Rastafari and step fully into singing. By 1989, he set aside the DJ persona, embraced his given name, and was later renamed Garnet Silk by producers enchanted by his silky smooth voice. His first recordings revealed an artist overflowing with promise. Songs like Mama and I Can See Clearly Now resonated with fans, while his debut album It's Growing became one of Jamaica's best-selling records of the year. Filled with spiritual devotion, cultural wisdom, and heartfelt emotion, it announced a new voice in reggae destined for global acclaim. His international breakthrough came with Hello Mama Africa, which topped reggae charts in Britain and made him a household name abroad. Between '92 and 1994, Silk was everywhere, recording with giants like Sly and Robbie, King Jammy, and Bobby Digital. Tracks like Lord Watch, Over Our Shoulders, and Zion in a Vision became instant classics, while his live sets at Reggae Sumfest and Reggae Sunsplash were hailed as electrifying, almost spiritual experiences. Then, fate intervened. In December '94, while visiting his mother, a firearm accident triggered an explosion that set their home ablaze. Garnet initially escaped, but when he realized his mother was trapped inside, he rushed back into the flames. Both lost their lives in the fire, his story ending at just 28 years old, but marked by an act of extraordinary love. Dennis Brown. Few voices could capture the soul of Jamaica like Dennis Brown's. Known as the Crown Prince of Reggae, Brown's sound blended tender emotion with a rhythmic pulse that resonated from Kingston to London. Yet, behind the melodies that enchanted generations was a story of early talent, relentless drive, and a life that ended far too soon. Born on February 1, 1957 in Kingston, Brown grew up in a bustling tenement yard surrounded by family, though tragedy struck early with the loss of his mother in the 1960s. Music entered his life almost as soon as he could speak. Brown began performing publicly at 9, captivating neighbors and even earning pennies from their applause. By 11, he made a professional debut at a West Kingston nightclub, joining the Fabulous Falcons as a featured vocalist and impressing audiences with his natural charisma. As a young artist, Brown cut his first tracks for Studio One, releasing No Man is an Island at age 12. The song became a Jamaican hit, cementing his status as a prodigy. He continued to work with top producers, steadily building a repertoire that blended love songs, roots, reggae, and socially conscious themes. Hits like Money in My Pocket, Westbound Train, and Repatriation earned him recognition in the UK and worldwide, confirming his reputation as a masterful performer. By the 1980s and 90s, Brown adapted effortlessly to the evolving dancehall sound while still recording timeless lovers' rock and roots tracks. He launched his own label, DEB Music, championed younger talent, and remained a guiding voice in reggae culture. His albums Light My Fire and Let Me Be the One received Grammy nominations, underscoring his artistic range and enduring influence. Despite his accomplishments, Brown's health faltered in the late 90s, compounded by respiratory issues and years of demanding tours. On July 1, 1999, he passed away from cardiac arrest in Kingston at age 42, leaving behind a wife, 10 children, and an immeasurable musical legacy. Hugh Mundell. Hugh Mundell was dubbed a poetic force within Jamaica's musical landscape. Mundell's artistry combined youthful insight with a spiritual depth that belied his age, hinting at a legacy that might have rivaled the genre's giants. Born as the fourth child and only son, Hugh was raised in Kingston amid a family that valued ambition, his father a respected lawyer. Though he excelled in athletics, often racing peers through the streets, music captured his heart from an early age. Living near future reggae luminaries such as Winston McAnuff, Earl 16, and Wayne Wade, Mundell was steeped in the island's musical vibrancy. A family friend, reggae producer Boris Gardner, introduced him to the genre, and a fateful day at Joe Gibbs's studio positioned him alongside artists like Augustus Pablo, who would become pivotal in shaping Mundell's sound. Under Pablo's guidance, Mundell recorded tracks that would define his debut album, Africa Must Be Free, by 1983, writing every song himself. The LP, featuring contributions from Lee Scratch Perry, included politically charged and unifying songs like Let's All Unite. Rolling Stone awarded the album 5 stars, and it earned a place in Tom Moon's 1,000 recordings to hear before you die, cementing Mundell's reputation as a trailblazing young voice. Though his public appearances were rare, Mundell performed as both himself and under the moniker Ja Levy across Jamaica's sound system circuit, sharing stages with Barrington Levy, Junior Reid, and Supercat. Recordings of his live performances showcase a dynamic presence, particularly his renditions of Great Tribulation and other classics alongside Reid. Tragically, on 14 October 1983, Mundell was assassinated while sitting in his car in Kingston. His wife and Junior Reid survived the attack, but Mundell was lost at just 21. The perpetrator, Ricardo Codrington, was later convicted of manslaughter and sentenced to 10 years at hard labor. Prince Far Wah. A voice like rolling thunder, cutting through the noise of injustice, Prince Far Wah left an unforgettable mark on reggae before a violent act silenced him forever. Known for his gravelly tone and uncompromising messages, he became a symbol of both spiritual devotion and social critique, standing as a bridge between Rastafarian beliefs and the struggles of everyday Jamaicans. He began his music journey not on stage, but behind the scenes, as a DJ for the Sir Mike the Musical Dragon sound system, a studio security guard, and later a bouncer at Studio One. His first recording came in 1969 under the moniker King Cry Cry, a nod to his habit of breaking into tears when angered. Fate intervened when a missed session by King Stitt allowed Williams to record for Coxsone Dodd, who was so impressed that he released the tracks, prompting a name change to Prince Far Wah, suggested by producer Enos McLeod. From that moment, the voice of thunder began to resonate across Jamaica. Prince Far Wah's debut album, Psalms for I, reflected his spiritual focus, reciting biblical psalms for those unable to read the scripture themselves. He continued to explore social and political themes with works like Under Heavy Manners, which critiqued government crackdowns on crime. From 1978 to 1981, he released 12 albums, including the acclaimed Cry Tough Dub Encounter series on his Cry Tough label, often backed by the Roots Radics under the alias The Arabs. His influence spread beyond Jamaica as he collaborated with UK On You Sound Records and performed with Sons of Arca, mentoring artists like Adrian Sherwood along the way. Tragically, his life was cut short in 1983 during a home invasion in Kingston, leaving the unfinished Umkhonto We Sizwe as a haunting testament to his vision. His passing inspired Sherwood to temporarily step back from reggae and record Dead Come Alive in mourning. King Tubby. When sound became a sculpted art form, King Tubby was its master, bending echoes and bass lines into landscapes no one had imagined before. His inventive techniques didn't just shape reggae, they laid the foundation for remix culture across countless genres worldwide. Tubby's early life revolved around electronics. As a skilled radio and television repairman, he honed an uncanny understanding of circuits, which he later applied to music. By the late 1950s, he was crafting massive amplifiers and running his own sound system, Tubby's Hometown Hi-Fi, which became renowned for its clarity, powerful output, and the eerie echo effects that would later define his signature style. It also served as a launchpad for emerging talents, including the now legendary toaster U Roy. By the late 1960s, Tubby was experimenting with instrumental tracks, initially removing vocals for sound system performances. But soon he realized he could reshape the music entirely, highlighting rhythms, isolating horns, and adding echoes and reverbs to create something wholly new. In 1971, he opened his own studio in Waterhouse, Kingston, equipped with custom-built mixers and effects units, where he began producing the earliest dub tracks. His remixes transformed existing recordings into expansive, hypnotic reinterpretations, emphasizing drum and bass while teasing fragments of melody and vocal snippets into spectral soundscapes. Tubby collaborated with Jamaica's top producers and worked with singers such as Johnny Clark, Horace Andy, and Cornell Campbell. Among his seminal releases, King Tubby Meets Rockers Uptown stands as a landmark, blending Carlton Barrett's rhythmic mastery with Augustus Pablo's haunting melodica, ultimately inventing the rocker's rhythm. Although he mostly stepped back from active production by the late 1970s, Tubby mentored the next generation, including King Jammy and Scientist, ensuring the dub tradition would continue evolving. His influence extended far beyond reggae, shaping modern electronic music and remix culture. Tragically, Tubby's life ended on 6 February 1989, when he was fatally shot outside his Duhaney Park home, reportedly during a robbery. Yet his revolutionary approach to sound continues to echo across studios worldwide, a legacy that proves music is as much about innovation as it is about rhythm. Tenor Saw. When the vibrant pulse of dancehall met a voice that could cut through the crowd, Tenor Saw emerged as its unforgettable herald. Born Clive Bright on December 1906 in Kingston, Jamaica, he would become one of the defining voices of the early digital reggae movement, leaving an indelible mark, despite a tragically brief career. Raised in the communities of Painland, Maverley, and Olympic Gardens before moving to Duhaney Park, Bright grew up in a devout household and developed his vocal talents singing in his church choir. His musical journey began with persistent visits to local producers, eventually catching the attention of George Fang, who offered him a chance to record his first single, Roll Call, in 1984. With this opportunity, Tenor Saw quickly became a rising star in Kingston's dancehall scene. He joined Sugar Minott's youth promotion sound system and recorded for the Black Roots label, generating local hits such as Lots of Sign, Pumpkin Belly, Run Come Call Me, and Fever. However, it was the 1985 anthem, Ring the Alarm, performed over Winston Riley's iconic Stalag Redeem, that cemented his reputation. This track resonated globally, showcasing his unique sing-jay style and lyrical agility. Collaborations with King Jammy, including tracks on the revolutionary Slang Tang Riddim, further expanded his influence, while his debut album Fever, released in 1986, compiled a series of digital reinterpretations of classic 1960s and 1970s rhythms, blending tradition with innovation. After relocating to Miami and joining the Skengdon crew, Tenor Saw recorded hits such as Dancehall Feeling and Bad Boys, followed by sessions in New York with notable artists like Freddie McGregor and General Doggy. His musical evolution demonstrated both versatility and a deep understanding of reggae's roots, even as he embraced new digital textures. Tragically, on 31st July 1908, a hit-and-run accident in Houston inflicted severe injuries that proved fatal 2 weeks later, claiming his life at just 21. Although rumors of foul play circulated, his death was officially attributed to head and bumper injuries compounded by a lung infection. Slim Smith. The soul of Rocksteady carried a voice so raw and heartfelt that it still resonates decades later. Slim Smith, whose life ended in tragedy, remains a towering figure in Jamaican music. He first gained recognition with the Victors Youth Band, earning praise during the 1964 Jamaican Festival for his expressive and commanding performance. This early exposure paved the way for his role as a founding member and lead singer of The Techniques, recording memorable tracks with Duke Reid's Treasure Isle label and contributing to releases like The Real Jamaica Ska, co-produced by Curtis Mayfield. After The Techniques dissolved in 1965, Smith formed The Uniques, venturing into R&B-influenced singles such as Do Me Good, released under Ken Lack's Caltone label. By 1906, he began working with prominent producers Prince Buster and Coxsone Dodd at Studio One, Jamaica's leading rival to Treasure Isle. It was here that his passionate, almost frenetic delivery truly flourished. Hits like The New Boss, Hip Hug, and Rougher Yet, showcased a voice both intense and soulful, cementing his status as one of the island's finest vocalists. Many of these recordings were later compiled in the album Born to Love, highlighting his mastery of the rocksteady and early reggae sounds. In 1967, Smith reformed the Uniques and began collaborating with producer Bunny Lee, releasing the influential single My Conversation, backed by Beatitude, a track inspired by biblical verses. The song's legacy endured through subsequent versions. While the Uniques achieved chart success with Let Me Go Girl and one album, Smith ultimately pursued a solo path. He scored an immediate hit with Everybody Needs Love, followed by an album of the same name and numerous other successes. Tragically, personal struggles culminated in 1972 when Smith was admitted to Bellevue Sanatorium. On the night of October 9th, he attempted to enter his parents' home, broke a window, and severely cut his arm, bleeding to death before receiving help. His untimely passing shocked Jamaica, yet his influence on rocksteady and reggae remains undeniable. Slim Smith's recordings continue to captivate listeners, ensuring that his powerful, emotive voice endures as a symbol of an era defined by rhythm, soul, and heartfelt expression. General Echo. When the sound of Kingston streets met a voice unafraid to shock, General Echo emerged, a DJ whose bold lyrics pushed reggae into new, daring territory, only for his life to be cut tragically short. He quickly earned a reputation as one of the island's most inventive performers, challenging the conventions of cultural DJ music with what became known as slackness, risque lyrics that sparked both excitement and controversy. Echo first made waves on prominent sound systems like Gemini, Stereophonic, and Ray Symbolic, captivating audiences with his charisma and inventive rhymes. Demonstrating entrepreneurial flair, he launched his own Echotone Hi-Fi, establishing himself not just as a performer, but as a tastemaker. He was also among the pioneers of yard tapes, recordings circulated on cassette that allowed his sound to reach listeners far beyond the dance hall, influencing a generation of DJs in Jamaica and across the United Kingdom. His recording career took off with hits like Drunken Master, produced by George Fang, and his chart-topping single, Arlene, voiced over Winston Riley's iconic Stalag Redeem. Albums followed, further cementing his status as a leading voice of dancehall. His style, blending sharp wit with daring lyrics, left a lasting mark on the genre and inspired countless artists who came after him. Tragically, Echo's rising trajectory was violently interrupted on November 22, 1980, when he was shot by police in Kingston, while traveling with Selector Flux and Stereophonic owner Leon Big John Johns. The circumstances surrounding the attack remain unresolved, leaving a haunting mystery around the loss of a figure who had reshaped reggae performance. Despite his untimely death at just 24 years old, General Echo's influence endured. His fearless approach to lyricism opened doors for future dancehall artists, and his legacy was honored musically on the tribute single Tribute to General Echo. Junior Braithwaite. Before the world knew the global force of reggae, there was a young voice that could pierce hearts with effortless clarity. Junior Braithwaite, the youngest member of the legendary Wailing Wailers, whose life ended quietly, tragically, and far from the spotlight he once commanded. Born Franklin Delano Alexander Braithwaite, Junior joined forces with Bob Marley, Bunny Wailer, and Peter Tosh in 1963, during the rise of ska music. Although his tenure with the group lasted only 8 months, his talent left an indelible mark on their early recordings. Junior's high, silky lead vocals carried hits such as Habits and It Hurts to Be Alone. Studio One impresario Coxsone Dodd recognized him as having the finest voice in the Wailers. Bob Marley later reflected that Braithwaite's tone resembled that of the Jackson 5. After his departure in 1964, Marley, Bunny, and Tosh had to reconfigure the group's sound without him, a testament to how unique Junior's contribution had been. Seeking a different path, Braithwaite moved to the United States with aspirations of entering the medical field. He spent the next 2 decades in Chicago and southern Wisconsin, away from the music industry's glare. Yet his connection to the Wailers never fully faded. In 1984, he returned to Jamaica to collaborate with Bunny Wailer on a reunion project. Plans for a global tour were abruptly ended with the tragic murder of Peter Tosh in 1987, closing a door on the possibility of seeing the original Wailers united once more. Tragically, Junior's story concluded far from the acclaim of his early days. On June 20th, 1999, he and fellow musician Chaka, Lawrence Scott, were shot to death in Scott's Kingston home. The violence that claimed him was a quiet, devastating end to a voice that had once promised so much. Despite a career that never reached the international heights it might have, Junior Braithwaite's contribution to reggae remains a vital piece of the Wailers' legacy. His early recordings continue to resonate, reminding fans and historians alike that even a brief voice can echo across decades, leaving a permanent imprint on the soundscape of music history. Sugar Minott. Sugar Minott, a founding father of dancehall, passed away on July 10, 2010, leaving behind a legacy as powerful as it was transformative. He was known for his revolutionary approach of singing fresh vocals over classic Studio One rhythms. At 54, his life came to a close at the University Hospital of the West Indies in Kingston, Jamaica, after battling heart complications that had plagued him since early 2009. Minott's influence on Jamaican music is monumental. Through his Black Roots label and Youthman Promotions sound system, he nurtured a generation of talent, including iconic names like Junior Reid, Tenor Saw, and Garnet Silk. He is celebrated as a godfather of dancehall, credited with pioneering the technique that would define an entire genre, layering inventive vocals over existing instrumental tracks. His artistry not only inspired peers, but also shaped the direction of Jamaican music for decades. Yet, the final years of Minott's life were marked by challenges away from the microphone. Financial difficulties plagued his Youthman Promotions organization, and some contemporaries, including Junior Reid, felt that Minott never received the financial recognition his groundbreaking contributions deserved. Reports indicated that his later career lacked the visibility and stability that had characterized his prime. He passed away intestate, leaving his family to navigate the complexities of his estate while striving to maintain his enduring influence. Despite these hurdles, Minott's legacy continues to thrive. His children, particularly his daughter Tamer Pashon Minott, have been actively working to revive Youthman Promotions and ensure that his catalog reaches new audiences. Efforts to remaster his recordings and spotlight his contributions are helping preserve his imprint on dancehall culture. U-Roy. Few artists have transformed an entire genre like U-Roy, the pioneering DJ whose inventive toasting forever altered reggae and laid the foundation for hip-hop. Ewart Beckford, known as the Originator, passed away on February 17, 21, at the age of 78, leaving behind a legacy that resonates far beyond Jamaica. By bringing the energy of sound system dances into the recording studio, he created a dynamic, improvisational vocal style that defined dancehall and inspired early hip-hop innovators, including DJ Kool Herc. In his later years, Beckford faced significant health challenges, but continued to stay connected to music, battling diabetes, hypertension, and a severe kidney condition that required surgery at the University Hospital of the West Indies. U-Roy remained active in recording and performing. His later projects, including Pray Feedy People and Talking Roots, highlighted his ability to merge classic reggae rhythms with innovative vocal improvisation, proving that creativity can persist despite personal challenges. U-Roy's influence extended well past his lifetime. The posthumous release of Solid Gold U-Roy in July 21 featured collaborations with contemporary stars like Shaggy, Santa Gold, and Ziggy Marley, demonstrating how his signature sound bridges generations. His deft manipulation of rhythms and melodic flow solidified his status as a visionary, transforming simple instrumental tracks into groundbreaking performances and laying the groundwork for modern rap and vocal artistry. Beyond technical skill, U-Roy's stage presence was magnetic. From Kingston's bustling dance halls to international venues, he energized audiences with a masterful interplay of rhythm, voice, and crowd engagement, a model that countless DJs and MCs would emulate. Although his final years were quieter, limited by health struggles, U-Roy's imprint on music remains indelible. His recordings, collaborations, and inventive approach to sound continue to inspire and educate new generations of artists. Every improvisation, every rhythmic flourish keeps the originator alive in the hearts of fans and musicians alike, proving that true innovation in music leaves a legacy that refuses to fade. Yabby U. Kingston streets once hummed with a spiritual intensity few could match, and Yabby U's reggae carried that fire, blending unwavering biblical faith with the heartbeat of roots rhythms. Born Vivian Neville Jackson on August 14, 1946, in Jamaica's Waterhouse District, he grew up as one of 7 siblings in a life marked by hardship. Leaving home at 12 to work in a furnace, he suffered severe malnutrition that led to hospitalization at 17, leaving him with partially crippled legs. Unable to return to manual labor, Jackson hustled on Kingston streets, forging the resilience that would define both his life and his music. Jackson's devotion to Christianity distinguished him from his Rastafarian peers. Rejecting the worship of Haile Selassie III, he embraced the divinity of Jesus, earning the nickname Jesus Dread. This spiritual perspective often fueled philosophical debates and ultimately guided him toward recording music. Inspired by an almost mystical musical experience, he persevered despite financial struggles and health challenges. In late 1972, he released Conquering Lion, recorded with the Ralph Brothers and mixed by King Tubby. The song's chant, "Be you, Yabby U," became his signature identity. Though mainstream recognition remained limited, Yabby U's influence on roots reggae remained profound. He returned in the early 90s, issuing both archival and new material, including a 2000 remix project with Glenn Brown. Posthumous releases, such as the 2014 Shanachi Records 3-CD box set and Unification, from Channel 1 to King Tubby's with Willie Williams and Yabby U, preserved his legacy for new generations. Jackson died quietly on January 12, 2010, at age 63, from a ruptured brain aneurysm. Despite enduring physical and financial hardships, Yabby U's music continues to resonate, his spiritual chants and deep-rooted rhythms inspiring artists and listeners alike, a testament to a man who transformed adversity into lasting art. Even legends can fade quietly, leaving echoes instead of spotlights. These reggae icons shaped music and inspired generations, yet passed away far from fame's glare. Remembering their voices and stories keeps their rhythms alive, proving that headlines don't measure true influence. It's felt in every beat that still moves the soul.